Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him, Ghana show boy, Africa's great song, Sergeant Dr. Nkrumah. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him, Ghana show boy, Africa's great song, Sergeant Dr. Nkrumah.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle, health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Late Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those socio-economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. And personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma Pratt. Still, the only TV show with a hat.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him, Ghana show boy, Africa's great song, Sergeant Dr. Nkrumah.
And we are live from the studios of Pan-African Television. My name is Sena, Nombo. It's my pleasure to welcome you to another edition of Alhaji and Alhaji. Thank you very much for joining us Here, we say it as it is, no matter who is involved in it, and we leave you better educated. We are live on Pan-African Television. You can watch us via your digital channel, also on GoTV. And also, we are live on Facebook, Pan-African Television, and on YouTube with the same name, Pan-African Television. Thanks for making time, and a big thank you to Ahuto 92.3 FM. They are radio partners here in the Greater Accra region. We have several other radio partners across the country, but let me acknowledge Volta One TV, the other television station we are live on, and on every other channel we are on. Thank you all for making your channel available to us. Thank you. Let me just start by telling you what we are talking about this morning. This morning, the major discussion we'll be focusing on is the issue of the minimum wage. There has been several questions about what happens to workers, about all the tax increments and everything. Now, a statement was issued this week that's signed by the Honorable Minister for Labor, Employment and Labor Relations, Honorable Ignatius Bafwewa. Mr. Daniel Champo is President for Ghana Employers Association, and Dr. Anthony Yaobang, who is Secretary General for the Trades Union Congress, TUC, on the 3rd day of June this week. And it says, in line with Section 113 of the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, the National Tripartite Committee concluded negotiations on the determination of the national daily minimum wage in respect of 2021 and 2022 at this meeting held on Thursday, 3rd June 2021 in Accra. The committee agreed as follows, that the 2021 national daily minimum wage is 12 cedis 53 pesos, which is 6% over the 2020 figure of 11 cedis 82 pesos. 2. That the 2022 national daily minimum wage is 13 cedis 53 pesos, which is 8% over the 2021 figure of 12 cedis 53 pesos. The effective date for the implementation of 2021 national daily minimum wage is 4th June 2021. An effective date for the implementation of the 2022 NDMW shall be 1st January 2022. So that's coming from the National Tripartite Committee, a decision that they have made. We'll be discussing that and other matters arising, because this week in Parliament, where the Appointments Committee has been vetting some deputy ministers of state, the indication has been given that we may be seeing more taxes. That was disclosed by one of the deputy ministers designate who served as deputy minister in the last administration too. So we'll spend some time on that. And I believe in that if you pay keen attention to the election petition 2020, presidential election petition, you would have heard the name Dr. Dominic Ayine. He's a member of parliament. He's a former deputy minister for justice and attorney general. He had to apologize profusely for making some comments the court considered contemptuous. It was not done. Now that the court has given its judgment, they are further dragging him before the disciplinary committee. The reason? He said and criticized the court in a manner the Chief Justice is not happy with. So he's referred him to the disciplinary committee of the Ghana Legal Council for an investigation and whatever actions will be taken. We'll be discussing that issue in our second topic, and then on our third issue, we'll spend some time talking about the president's response to the assertion that there is a growing culture of silence in Ghana. The president says there's nothing like that. It is rather the people who are talking who are intolerant to being responded to. That is what is happening. We are joined this morning by Mr. Kwesi Prajina, who is managing editor of the Inside newspaper, joining us. Wonderful to see him this morning. We have Mujib Rahman, who is a member of the MPP's communication team, who I have a bone to pick with. Jifar Tega, who joins us this morning. And then we have Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, who is member of parliament for Tamale Central. Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. So we'll start with the discussion on bread and butter issues. Because that's an important issue that needs to be talked about, especially in the wake of the growing concerns. Don't forget, in court currently, the hashtag Fix the Country matter is still in court. The court are still seeking further restraining orders, preventing them from going on in demonstration. All has to do with bread and butter issues. So I'll start with Comrade Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed on the issue of the minimum wage and matters arising. Good morning.
Senior comrade, good morning to my junior comrade, and good morning to the pretentious patriot of the NPP, and good morning to your viewing public.
Honorable, you are one. What this is?
Of course, the good
I'll
people,
come to you.
and good morning to the good people of Tamale Central. Some salaries at the end of the month. The complexities with which the salaries are not for people or many people to comprehend. One, they take into consideration several factors in determining whether the minimum wage be increased or decreased. I'm not aware whether there has ever been any decrease in minimum wage as far as this country is concerned. Of course, maybe as far as I have lived. The reason why there have always been increases is that the economic condition, unfortunately, is not improving as expected. To that extent, when those calculations are done, those factors are taken very seriously. One of the important factors that are considered in the calculation of the minimum wage for public sector workers specifically, and other workers, if you like, even those in the private sector, because one, they determine the minimum wage. Even a private entity, you cannot pay your employees below the national or average minimum of the state. They take into consideration inflation. They take into consideration largely the economic conditions prevailing at that material.
Comment. Give me a moment. We have to take a short break. We'll be right back. We need to fix something. We'll be right back.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sajifo Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him, Ghana showboy, Africa's great son, Sajifo Dr. Nkrumah.
Thank you very much for sticking and staying with us. The mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Honorable Murtala Mohammed, Comrade Murtala Mohammed, was having his stand on the issue of the minimum wage.
I'm not too sure at what point of my contribution that the thing went off, but be it as it may. I say that in the calculation of the minimum wage or wages of employees, particularly public sector workers, they take into consideration several factors. One of such factors is inflation, because any amount of money you pay to people, they certainly would have to use them to meet their basic needs, i.e., to buy food, ensure that they have a decent accommodation or shelter, to meet their utility, if like, or services that are provided to them by agencies, either state institutions. You take into consideration the general economic conditions of the people. Now, so in doing calculations, these are the factors you take into consideration. We have been told that inflation is not increasing. Inflation is actually a single digit, we have been told. But you see, when we are doing that calculation and you are just looking at just inflation alone, you'll be making a grievous mistake. And it seems to me that has been the focus of this government anytime they want to come out with the minimum wage. They say that inflation is reducing, and by extension, you don't increase the wages of. Basic economics will tell you that there are two. It's either demand pull or cost push. Unfortunately, what we have is not demand pull, it's cost push. And demand pull simply means goods, too much money chasing fewer goods, by extension the prices of goods will increase. So you see a general increase in the prices of goods and services. But the cost, when factors of production, the amount of money you would spend in producing, that is the factors of production. In this sense, you can simply say inputs. When the cost of the inputs go higher, naturally the prices of the items that you are going to produce will go high. So the inflation we have, as far as I'm concerned, and the fact that they claim that it is not as a result of demand, but it is as a result of cost inflation. And the reason why, sorry, it's not as a result of demand pool, which is not pooling. Virtually you can see that demand will push. In this case, prices of goods and services, generally they claim, are not increasing, for which reason they may boast of having a single-digit inflation. People don't even have the money to purchase. People don't have the money to purchase. 2, we are just coming out of COVID. And economic conditions generally were very low. Now, if you look at the 12% increase, calculate 12% of the amount of money you are taking, and tell me how much it's going to be. It will be hopefully insignificant. Juxtapose that with the increases in fares, transportation. Juxtapose that with the increases in food items that you are buying. Because when you have cost of production going very high, when cost of inputs are going very high, naturally the price of those items will also go high. So if you have just 12% increase, the things you are able to purchase with the little money you are taking, you can no longer purchase those things. And at the long run, the economic conditions of people will be worse off. I'll give you a classical example. Every morning when I'm going for a TV program, because of where I live, I have to leave home very early. At least I should leave home by 6 o'clock latest, or even a little below 6 o'clock. There is a woman who sells bullfruit. Sometimes because of my breakfast, I was buy the bullfruit. I used to buy the bullfruit. One was 1 cedi. Now, I was shocked. Yesterday, I had a program on a sister TV station. And for a very long time, I didn't buy the bullfruit. I got there and I had these 2 cedis, 1 cedi notes 2. And I gave it to the guy, I need 2. He said, oh boss, it's 3 cedis. So I said, why? 3 cedis? Yes, 1 cedi, 50 pesos. So that is 50% increase. Now, assuming that my salary was spent on just the bullfruit every month, there has been an increase in the price of the bullfruit by 50%, yet salary has increased just by 12%. And it is not just the bullfruit example I have given. There are several examples. The fact that you have vehicles, sometimes you do that. And certainly the prices of everything have actually skyrocketed. Do you know, members of parliament, we haven't had our salaries for last month? Today's date is 5th, right? We can't have it today because it's weekend. We certainly can't have it tomorrow. Members of parliament, we have not had our salaries. I'm not saying that members of parliament should be treated extraordinarily. Parliament haven't had their salary for last month, when we are virtually ending the first week of the second month. What will happen to other employees? And it is not only members of parliament. There are several public sector workers out there who do not have their salaries paid. The answer is simple. The economy is completely broke. It is virtually collapsing. And we are in a serious condition. And that is why that I can't but agree with Zenato when she said that the conditions that necessitated the June 4th, bad or good as it may appear to many people, the statement she made is still relevant. That we live in a country where you can't even criticize the system, and we certainly would come to the issues of the media and then free speech. So I think that it's a danger. And I can tell you, if Pan-Africa TV decides to carry out a survey, perhaps a random survey, maybe after next month, by which time public sector workers been enjoying so-called increase in wages, and ask them sincerely to compare their conditions of life by next month and the previous month before the increases were effected, I can bet my last penny they will tell you that they are worse off. Because I have just used one item, that is food. How much are they proposing to increase? A little over 25%. It simply doesn't make sense to me. The 25% increase in trotro fares, and mind you, the increases in fuel by extension. In fact, I don't even want to go into fuel because the fuel would have occasioned the increases in the trotro and transportation fares. The moment there is an increase, the payer of the indirect tax is the final consumer who bears the brunt. Particularly when we are talking of goods that are necessities. Transportation has become a necessity. Look, I went to Tamale last 2 weeks, and I went by air. And then we realized that the flight was full. I was having a chat with a gentleman who sat with me. And I said, for some of us, it is economically wise to go by air than go by your vehicle. My Land Cruiser, which certainly if I want to go to my constituency, which will be more comfortable for me, to fill the I need over 700 Ghana cedis. In 2016, I could fill the tank a little below 400 Ghana cedis. I need over 700 Ghana cedis to fill the tank. And when you fill the tank from Accra to Tamale, when you get to Tichima, you have to top up. You top up, the least you can top up should be 300 Ghana cedis. So by the time you take the vehicle from Accra to Tamale, you would have spent at least 1,000 Ghana cedis on fuel. So in and out, another 1,000 Ghana cedis, that is 2,000. Take away the stress, take away the risk, take away the driver. The driver must be fed. And in fact, you must take care of the family of the driver before the driver leaves. So you end up spending almost 3,000 or more by the time you go to Tamale. If you take the flight, you pay less. So it is no longer a luxury for certain people to use the flight than using a private vehicle. Maybe someone will argue that they use the public transport. The risk involved. More so when security is completely in a state of decay. In this country, you don't know who would attack you the next day. Because you have a president who indeed trained terror groups, financed them and still financing them. And nothing is happening. So you take into consideration that. So under these circumstances, now you have an increase in wages of public sector workers, just a little over 12%, and you expect us to clap for you. I am completely disappointed in the labor unions because they have participated in this. They should be the first people who should be concerned about the conditions of lives of their members. Yet, for whatever reason, they agree with this without raising any issue. And the argument that have always been made, and I listened to some of the NPP, incompetent communicators. They argue that yes, if there is an increase by 12%, look at the increase in inflation. And that is where I think that there is a mismatch. And if we want to look at such calculation, we need to be very, very careful. So, to be very honest, I really don't see how this thing is going to impact in the lives of people. And also, when there have been an increases in the prices of fuel, I mean, this year alone, we have had it increase more than umpteen times. And when you have such increases, it's certainly going to affect everything. The wache, which I know my brother and I enjoy so much. When you go to buy the wache you buy for 4 cedis, you can no longer. In fact, there are some of them, they don't even cut 4 cedis any longer. They cut just 5 cedis and above. Now, even if you want to be taking wache for lunch every day, and your salary is a little below 1,000 Ghana cedis or 1,000 Ghana cedis, wache 50 Ghana cedis every day for lunch. Wache 5 Ghana cedis every day for lunch. And if you are buying 5 Ghana cedis, it means that you just take the wache in shito. You can't have macaroni, you can't have meat, you can't have anything in it. If you want to eat it and eat it at least to some level of satisfaction, you should be spending a little or just 20 or 15 Ghana cedis. Now, if you spend that much, do the arithmetic, do the calculation. Now, fuel prices have increased. The trotro that you used to take from Adenta to Accra, you know, to look for jobs that unfortunately are not even available, except those who have Ufuriata attached to their names. If you don't have Ufuriata attached to your name and you are a young graduate who is unemployed, you take the trotto which you used to pay this one Ghana cedis the ministry to look for jobs. Now you pay over 2 cedis. If you don't even take them, you pay 3 cedis. Now in and out will take you about 6 cedis or 5 cedis, you know, minimum. You cannot even find a job. So look, the economic conditions are just so bad, and it is not for anything to do with the managers of the economy of this country. That we have borrowed so much, there is absolutely nothing to show for what we have borrowed. That we spend almost 80%. And in fact, the information we are picking in Parliament is that the debt to GDP is over 80% now, because they have been unethically hiding a lot of the borrowings. And when they are doing the calculation to determine our debt to GDP, they always, hide some of the figures. They put them in appendices. A classical example has to do with what was presented to the people of this country in Parliament. And I don't know whether the MPP was not aware that presenting documents to Parliament, you are presenting the document to the people of this country. They hid some of the figures, only for the IMF and the World Bank. Indicate that the debt to GDP was not 76% as we were told, but 78%. And they are still borrowing, they are still going for borrows. And I can tell you that by the end of this year, we should be hitting over 80%. What it simply means, Sena, to a viewing public, when we say debt to GDP is 80%, what it simply means is that any revenue that you generate, you use 80% of it to service the debt. How much are you going to use to pay, people? And those huge, massive infrastructural development this government has promised, I am sorry to say that they can't deliver. Contractors have not been paid. If members of Parliament up till date on the 5th of this month, we haven't received our salary for last month. And know why we are quiet. The moment you come out and say members of Parliament. But you see, if they can do this to members of Parliament, what can they do to the ordinary public servant or civil servants who indeed working tirelessly just to ensure that this economy is on a proper, wheels? Unfortunately, they simply do not care. It is very clear that the managers of the economy have failed. It is very clear that Dr. Bawumia, who indeed touted himself as the one who salvaged the economy of Zimbabwe, the best economist in this world, he's been exposed big time. He's been exposed big time. There is nothing wrong with Mr. Nanabu and Dr. Bawumia telling the people of this country, and I think that there should be new elections so that we would just stay off. This is not the way the economy was managed under President before, even he was an MPP. This is not the way the economy was managed by Prof. Mills. This is certainly not the way the economy was managed by President Mahama. This is the most disastrous way of managing an economy. And I think I would ask that question repeatedly. They should show us what they have borrowed and what they have used their money for. And the moment you raise those issues, what they tell you is that, we are servicing the debts that were indeed borrowed by previous administration. And I'm wondering whether any government has ever refused to service debt borrowed by previous administration. So clearly, this minimum wage can't take us anywhere. Clearly, this minimum wage cannot ensure the conditions of the people of this country. As a matter of fact, the conditions of the people of this country are going to be worse. I would challenge that you should do your possible best. Let's go onto the street, interview public Ufuriata. I thought she's replacing Ufuriata. To tell you sincerely what their conditions of life have been, at least after what they have done, and expect us to put life for them.
Thank you. Let me quickly acknowledge that because I've been having a couple of messages about still his sound. I'm guessing that there's some work being done on it, so it will be restored as soon as possible. I'm hoping the sound across is better than his. So I'll go to Mujib next. But in the meantime, let me also indicate that today the 13% increase in transport fares will kick in. So if you're taking transport by now, you'd have known that you're paying 30% more. There are those who are saying the calculations don't add up. If you look at more, it's a little more than 13%. Some cases goes as far as 20%, among others. But you know that you're paying more for transportation. Let me go to Mujib before I read the messages.
Sena, these days I don't understand. Why? It's like this. So why you want to come back, you want to come to me, go to Jefa, then you come to Uncle Kosiprat. Why? Sena, I think this morning I listened to my senior brother, Honorable Murtala Mohammed. I just came to the conclusion that we have to still continue the politicking and not try to view things in a very nationalistic point of view. And I believe, I don't know of him, I have worked in government sector before, and I understand sometimes when they say there's some increase in minimum wage, you are very excited. It is when you get to the bank, then you take the salary, then you now try to see the difference. What have they increased? Long before even now. And I know, and I'm convinced that it hasn't changed. And I want to ask, at a point in our life, as a country where salaries of workers in this country, that you can manage it within the month and still have something to save before even the next salary comes. And I think, I remember at a point, some describe the workers of this country as magicians. With the meager salary they earn, and they are able to coop up, manage their affairs, pay electricity, pay water bill, still continue to pick their trotro to their workplace to and fro, and still pay their children's school fees, manage their house chores. So now it is marvelous. And the situation haven't changed. What I would have expected, I expected my good friend who is a member of parliament to be saying that collectively as a people, collectively as a state, let's sit down and just try to see how we can improve on the living conditions, and for that matter, the salaries of workers in this country, to cushion them. I said this because I maintained long ago that we are living in a class system in this country. I think it's captured under Article 71. I don't know. Yeah, but member of parliament. Your conditions is far, far better than somebody who is a nurse at Kolebu or somebody who is a teacher in my own village in Poli. But whatever it is, they all contribute to greatly or the running of the economy of this country. So if others can be placed at very high level, depending on the economic situation, and others are left at the bottom, I don't think that, and I don't see the fairness in it. Sena Murtala has mentioned today, if he wants to drive his Land Cruiser from Accra here to Tamale, the cost involved in terms of fueling the car and other associated costs. I want to refer my brother to some worked for up to their retirement age, but to be able to afford a Toyota car that will take the person to retirement is difficult in this country. I am not referring to you. I am just trying to let you understand the situation our workers are in this country. People retire senior without having, cannot boast of a car. And today, as we are in Ghana, car is not a luxury, but it's a necessity. How we are getting the argument. So, fortunately, we are a member of parliament. You should place the working conditions of Ghanaian workers paramount so that you can continue to champion. I hope we are getting the argument. So, when we get that, then we can move forward as a people. Nobody will look at our taste as a people. Sometimes I sit down as a young man and I try to analyze this country and see whether indeed we have a future. We, the youth, the younger generation. And I hope people like Uncle Kosiprat are always here to guide. And when you look into future, what is the future of our children that we are giving birth to? Sena, it's not for nothing that when we leave this country and go to some places, with the same power, being a member of parliament, being a minister, being a prime minister, or being a president, their lifestyle is completely different from what we are experiencing in Ghana and for that matter Africa. You think they don't want luxury? But they care. The reason why they do that is that they care for their people. They care for the living conditions of their people. It's in the basic. Any person at certain age in life need accommodation. At certain age in life, if we have a better transport system, my brother will not be complaining from traveling from Accra to Tamale. If we have a better train system, if we have a better transport system, what prevents a member of parliament or a minister, and me as an ordinary Ghanaian, sitting comfortable in a car or in a train, knowing very well that the next 3-4 hours, we will be at our destination safely? That will be more, no, there won't be incentive for him to use his private car. That is the system others have built somewhere. That is why I told you they care for their people. Many years. Is that the situation in Ghana? Today, it's a cumulative effect that we have to pay, and we are paying it today. My problem is, don't try to be specific. When it comes to issues of workers' conditions in this country, you can't trace the fault to only Nanado administration. Jifa, under President Mahama, under President Kufuor, was workers being gifted with gold in this country? Certainly no. Exactly, I hope you are getting the argument. And I'll come to the point. The reality, if you are looking at the negligible nature of what has increased, you just said we are coming out of COVID. And the government is telling us that let's all buy the bullet. And my challenge with the government also buy the bullet. And leadership must show example. If we show example, I think that the ordinary people will follow. Because we are doing that to save a situation. We are doing that to build the economy of this country. We are doing that so that all of us tomorrow will be better. That is the rationale. So it doesn't matter whether I have to pay a price of not asking for more, but other group of people wouldn't pay for the price. Everybody has to pay for the price. Because if it's good, we are all in it. If it's bad, we are all in it. So this is the time that we have to manage. And I expected certain drastic measures from the corridors of power. And I hope maybe going into future, maybe certain class of people's salary should have been cut because we are coming out of COVID. Even government workers at a point has to go to work on Saturday, even if it's 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock and close, to be able to work and turn things around. We can build drastic measures has to take because the situation we are now is not the best. My brother has just enumerated everything because the economy is not the best. And I want to refer him, when we came in 2017, we didn't inherit a gold economy. MPP never inherited a better economy. We were under the tutelage of IMF. I hope you are getting the argument. So not long ago, COVID came in. So let's be very fair to ourselves. Let's stop the politicization. Honorable Murtala, that is my point. Let us, when it comes to issues like this, let's look at it in a very, very nationalistic point of view and leave our partisan positions. Because that is the truth. Long before Ghanaian workers has been magicians. Increases of fuel prices. No government will come and say, okay, we are going to maintain fuel prices for the next 3 years. No. They only do their politics when they get the opportunity, they keep prices, the taxes. But my worry is that if not for taxes, with the economy we've all have been taught in the secondary school and universities, no country can run without the taxes. But if we have a situation where fewer people are paying the taxes are my problem, why don't you widen the tax neck? The more you widen it and even reduce the basis of it, but you rake in more than leaving few people paying the taxes and always keeping the taxes very high. And I think that Ghana, we can still do better. But I want to ask a question, and I know where my uncle always still comes from. So now, right after Nkrumah, we have been managing our gold. We have been managing our resources in this country. And we have the international foreigners coming in. Have we been fairly treated in terms of our contract agreement? Do we get the right percentage that we are supposed to get as a country? As a way of revenue coming in? We have oil now. There are foreign companies exploring the oil. Go to take the contracts of it and see the percentage that comes to Ghana government as a revenue. Is it something to write home about? Can we boast of it? So these are all the things that we should be talking as a country. We have to get to a point and say no and take our destiny into our hands. But my problem with African leaders, as soon as they get there, the small comfort, they forgot of where they are coming from. See now, when you have a better system, nobody will chase anybody away. Today, because of poverty, the high level of poverty in Ghana, which is the cause of successive government today, government for the past 5 years is finding it difficult to get our young people from the forest, from the bush, who are engaged in galamsey. To the extent that you can even see a 15 or 16-year chap video telling the leaders of this country that you are asking us to come out of the bush. What is the alternative? Where are we? What are we going to do and eat? And I think that much as we are trying to get them from the bush to save the environment, our water bodies, Honorable Murtala, we have to be very careful with one thing. What are the alternatives? Because the guys are coming out of the bush with the weapons. Recently, you are now beginning to see an increase in the armed robbery and all those things. So I think that we are somewhere. We need to sit down and approach all these things the way they are supposed to be approached and save the situation in this country. Now, if you are traveling in the night, you are not safe. If you are traveling at certain odd hours in the capital here, you are not safe because you could be attacked. How we are getting the argument. So me, I always felt that we are Ghanaians first before our political parties. So when the truth is there, let's face the truth. Everybody, the constitution says that guarantee working is your right. And being paid decent payment is equally a right. Ask ourselves, are our Ghanaian workers being decently paid in this country? We have friends who maybe after 2 weeks after into the next month, they are you see them and you know that things are not going well because the salary is gone. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Whether you like it or not, you take the trot price has increased. Whether you like it or not, you buy the roadside wachi, the roadside wachi has increased. Whether you like it or not, your landlord has increased the price. And you can't be sleeping outside with your kids and family. So how are we surviving? How are we managing all this? And I think that the people of Ghana, we are not angry enough to be holding our leaders responsible. What they are supposed to do to save the future generation and all of us in this country. So I will always not take it when you want to go partisan lines. Go, it's their fault. All is their fault. They came with massive promises, but when they come, you give them the opportunity. At the end of the day, when you take them vis-a-vis what they have promised, you don't see the reality, and it can't as a cost. That is why we still have bad roads in this country. Agriculture is still not the best of shape in this country. 60-something years independent, we still cannot boast of a better train system. Rwanda is far ahead of us. And what are we doing as a people?
Thank you. Thank you, Mujib Rahman.
Now you have.
So now the
school politics, I'll come to you. Be patriotic this morning.
We are discussing a 6% increase in the daily minimum wage. What that means is that as we speak now,
minimum wage has never been
the minimum salary. The minimum salary any Ghanaian should be earning should be 375 cedis 90 pesos. 375 cedis 90 pesos. That's the smallest salary anybody should have in Ghana. But I know people who earn far less than that, and I don't think their situations will change. Let me just do two or three messages before I come to Deepa. Hebel Awukudado said the African problem has always been leadership failure. Leadership which has been corrupt and self-seeking, that neglects the needs and aspirations of its citizens. Unfortunately, leaders that emerge to serve the interests of the people have been undermined by those who seek selfishness. Ghana came about as a very strong and inspirational nation under Dr. Kwame Nkrumah out of selflessness to take control of the African destiny. Very sad. The selfish-minded African was used by the neo-colonialists to kick him out. Until radical actions are initiated to shake up this leadership crisis of Africa, there will be no remedy. Kofi Nyade says the competition between politicians to be rich is not by investing their hard-earned resources, but rather stealing the taxpayers' money. Thank you. Udeji says, okay. Okay. So
no,
I'll read that later. Steke Stevens says, I know when to read it. Says, El Farouk in Tamale says a good morning. Then another government has made the living standard of ordinary Ghanaians very difficult these days. The hardships on It's unbelievable and disgusting. It says, would the duty against this Mujib seat collectively is something which you and your party should never think about. You sit and see your president spend £15,000 an hour on jolly plane flies. What have you said about it? If you're a patriotic Ghanaian, can you condemn the waste to the public purse? There is no longer minimum wages. People are now being given wages. Ibrahim Shiraz says, I would like to incite positively all government workers that they should wake up and put pressure on their various labor unions to reject this minimum wage as an insult right to their faces of the faces of the hardworking Ghanaian. Fuseni is joining us from Tuwara in Asamanke. Says good morning to us. Sena, the level of impunity under this government is too much. How do you increase living wages by 71 pesos? And I believe strongly that even military government will not do this wicked thing to Ghanaians. Why? Gafaro says good morning to us, especially to Comrade Mutala, Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Ghana is sinking under Kufuado. He says, Real Ghana, get ready to pay more taxes. Deputy Minister Dexon for Finance tells Ghanaians, Abna Osayasari. So what is the impact of the minimum wage on the day-to-day activities? Niaya is also watching us live from the UK. Jifa.
My senior comrades here, Uncle Kwesi, Nombo Mutara, whether patriotic or unpatriotic, we are not sure. Mujib, honestly, I'm sure what Honorable Mutala mentioned about he being not patriotic really influenced him when he was speaking. So he tried to, do some camera ups to make it look like, we are suffering somehow and we all care. But we have seen through the veil. That's just my intro. We have seen through the veil. But let me commend him. Sometimes it's important that you put to bear the truths. And in as much as it's your government, look, you shouldn't be lying to yourself, because when you're lying to yourself, you're doing yourself harm. I was very, very touched when he mentioned the fact that we should all take the bullet, because we have agreed that the whole world has suffered a pandemic. So we should all take the bullet somehow. And we are dependent on good leadership to make sure that the bullet doesn't kill us. It just greases us. Or, it doesn't have so much, a very little effect on us or something. You were reading one of the comments when somebody mentioned the $15,000, 15,000 euros per hour flight, pounds per hour flight that our president, Akufo-Addo, took to France. And this is during a pandemic. We are still recovering. It may even take us years to recover from this pandemic. So in the thoughts of taking the bullet, everyone taking the bullet, and Mujib mentioning that we should have leadership by example, this is a president who decided to spend £385,000 on just a short trip, a trip that didn't even last up to 2 weeks, within a week actually. This is a president. We have minimum wages of 12 cedis 53 pesos. And look, let's just cut it by the day. You even embroidered it for us to know how much it cost a month. Minimum is supposed to be over 350 cedis a month.
375.
275. That's not even up to 350.
375.
Yeah. And I am just saying that let's address it by the 12 cedi and 12.53. My honorable here was mentioning the cost of wachi. Let's say in a day, you decide to spend 2 and 5 cedis on food in a day. However you're going to make that happen, we don't know, because we know that in a day, your food cannot be about 5 cedis. It should definitely be times 4 of that, but let's say 5 cedi a day. Fuel prices have increased. I'll come to the fuel price, and my own personal experience with it recently have increased. If you are supposed to go from your home to your job every day, you are not supposed to spend less than 6 cedis in and out. That it does. I'm sure that is even the lowest, but I'm trying to massage it. That leaves you where just about 11 cedis. What you have left is not even up to 2 cedis. you have your rent to cover, you have other expenses, several other expenses. And all this isn't tax exclusive. Let's be sure of that. They suggested that we were hoping that it will be tax exclusive in the future. But right now, as we speak, it's not tax exclusive. So that means that when we take taxes from it, my salary is, my taxes from my salary is about 1/3 or even more than 1/3 of my salary. So if we are supposed to take taxes from this, how much will be left? That is the basic minimum salary, wage per person, per day. And Sena, it is nothing to write home about. I heard some of the MPP comrades jubilating or trying to make a case that, well, it has been increased. In when? Like when? Since I was born, not even since I was born, since Ghana found independence, when has basic minimum wages been decreased before? So I don't even see how an MPP communicator will go and sit on TV and make it look like an achievement because it has been increased by 6%. How can it be an achievement? We were thinking that when people have lost their jobs because of COVID-19, when a lot of people lost their job because of this so-called banking cleaning sector, a lot of people were rendered jobless. Those who even tried to get jobs were finding odd jobs, mini jobs, jobs that they were so grossly overqualified for, and have to, be now grouped in this category of people that are, receiving this minimum wage. We were thinking that something little could have been done for them. I am just saying that I am not here to say that it should have been increased to 500 cedis or probably 20 cedis per day. I am just here to say that in this period, we are leaning so much on leadership. Absolutely. In this COVID period, the entire world, what will kill a country faster is bad leadership. Because everyone has become so vulnerable. So when you have your president who has borrowed so much, 100% more than he came to meet. Let me make the basic Ghanaian citizen who may be illiterate, because we have majority of our citizens illiterate, to understand what I mean. That if the entire group of, should I say, presidents that you came to succeed borrowed 10 cedis, Akufo-Addo himself has borrowed about 12 cedis. That is what I mean. What he has borrowed is entirely even more than what he came to meet. And that is what we are here. If somebody like this, who is even seeking for us to be, for our debt to be cancelled or to, to be ruled out, goes to the foreign country, or should I say the European countries, who have been lending us money in a plush, luxurious jet, spends 15,000 euros per hour, not per day, not per half a day, per hour. Throughout, goes to tell a French president, say, fire debt chain. It's a total insult. No, it's total insult to their intelligence. You go in this particular, and let me just even break it down to cedis. 2.8 million Ghana cedis. That is how much Akufo-Addo spent. So if the basic minimum salary wages of every single Ghanaian, should I say the lowest for a single Ghanaian is 12 cedis, 53 pesos. I just see us so stagnant. I see that we have gone nowhere. I see that it is the normal, which I have detected, and I always say on this platform, it is the normal strategy that the MPP have been adopting for several years now, where they would increase fuel prices by about 50 pesos. Come and say they increased it now for about 20 pesos. And you will think, oh, we're increasing fuel prices. And then the next one, it goes up for about 15 pesos again. That is the same thing. Because here, what have we added to the last year, the basic wage was 11.62, around that. What has been added is not even up to a cedi. And the taxes that have been compounded on Ghanaians, including the so-called free water that we enjoyed, that we are now paying for. We have been rendered foolish by this government now paying for the so-called free water. COVID-19 that we are all suffering, we are still paying for. Several other taxes that have been brought to us. And now the Deputy Minister Designate for Finance, Abena Osei, is now telling us to be ready for more taxes. So, Sena, tell me how this is an increment. Tell me how this is going to help any single person. Because the taxes that have come up, if you add them, they are in cedis. They are in cedis. And the increment is in pesos. So we have gone lower. So the Ghanaian who is receiving about 327 Ghana cedis a month is running at a loss because she has more to pay for with very little. At the end of the day, the taxes will cut everything off from it. Fuel crisis. Let me come to when I had a personal issue with the fuel prices. I forgot. We have been having increments, and we complain. We know the implications, but sometimes we get it. I know how much it takes to fill my tank. Sometimes those who know understand that when you fill a tank, it actually saves you more than doing it in thoughts. So sometimes, you guard up and then you try to fill your tank. And then I went to the station, and then I said I want to fill my tank. And I know that my tank fills just about 300 cedis. That is after I have experienced all those fuel increments in 2020, about 300 cedis. I had 2 bars. That means my tank wasn't empty at all. I had 2 bars. The guy was filling my tank, filling. Hey, 300, he's still filling. Because I was expecting it to be just around 250 because I had some fuel in the tank. 300, he's still filling. It went to 340 Ghana cedis. And immediately I was enraged. I thought they were cheating me. I said, my brother, I drive my car and I know how much I fill the tank for. I had 2 bars. You can't come and cheat me. And he said, madam, we are sure we cannot do that to you. And then he reminded me there has been several increments in fuel prices. And I said, oh, my brother, I'm sorry. Several increments in that the difference now is more than 50 cedis. The difference now, this year alone, how many times have we increased fuel prices? And let's not forget that fuel prices singularly affect almost everything in the country. It affects the price of my hair. It affects the price of my dress. It affects the price of the food I eat. Not just transportation. It affects everything as far as that thing can be transported.
Including both fruits. Including
both fruits. I have this favorite cupcake that I like, boss cake or whatever. I was in Asimfosu just yesterday and I decided to buy one. It is written boldly on it, 50 pesos for one. It is written on the pack, 50 pesos. I asked the girl how much it was and they said 1 cedi. Asimfosu. That cake that is 50 pesos is 1 cedi. I was angry. And then again, you just think, probably the number of times this price has been increased will not allow a single a shop owner to decide to sell it at the recommended price of the producer. You go to places and then Coke is supposed to be 1 cedi. Everywhere, everyone knows Coke is supposed to be 1 cedi. And you know, when the producer suggests the price for you, that means he's selling it to you lesser than the price he has suggested so that you get your profits. And then everyone knows it's 1 cedi. But the cost of transportation and other taxes does not allow the retailer to sell according to what the producer has suggested. So fuel prices, when we talk about it, people think it's just your church or your Uber and then the private cars. Fuel prices affect almost every single thing, including furniture. Because if I'm buying this furniture for 1,000 Ghana cedis, whoever is going to deliver it will decide that no, delivery would have to cost about 100 cedis, and now the furniture is 1,000 Ghana cedis, 1,100 Ghana cedis. That will be the cost of the furniture. And it has been going on bit by bit, and we are seated here, we are quiet. This increment is nothing. I didn't expect it at all. I expected Nana Akufo-Addo and the government to have involved themselves in realizing that no, because of the several taxes, let it even be, let us say, let's accumulate all the new taxes and the ones that we are expecting, and deduct it from what we want to the new charges that we want to give out, so that at least the basic Ghanaian person won't run at a loss. So I know that if I was receiving about 250 cedis last year, I know minus my taxes, I will still be receiving 250. So that will maybe be around maybe 300 or maybe 320. That's just an example that I'm giving you, so that you know that at least we are still standing there. But I'm telling you that this 6% increment plus the taxes that have been impounded on us and the new ones that the Deputy Minister of Finance is telling us to expect very soon tells us that if you were receiving 200 cedis last year and you were managing your 200 cedis this year, what you'll be using for expenses is just about 160. You have gone back and everything else has increased. So you have my uncle ABA Fuseni telling you when everything has increased, shut up, except he and the president. At least he added himself, so I can boldly say he added himself to it.
I'll take you on.
Honestly, no, Mujib, what hasn't been increased, Mujib? Yes, except himself and the president's height. Those are the only two things that have been increased. But you see, Sena, it's sad. It's sad because as a young lady and as an MP here, Uncle Kwesi Mujib, let's all be factual, including you. You do not live on your salary. Sena, if you were supposed to live solely on your salary, this shirt you are wearing, you won't wear. Or you would wear it for 5 years continuously for for the audience of Alhaji and Alhaji to say, oh, we beg you. Because you cannot manage your rent. You cannot manage your transportation, manage your lifestyle, and even support your family. You won't be able to do it. My honorable here says his salary hasn't come. When his salary, no, let me. I'm just giving an example. No, as for my hair, I can take it out of it. But I can attest to. Let's just break it down. The salary that he takes, by the time it comes, and I'm saying this because I'm friends with a lot of members of parliament, and even like those in the MPP, and he will attest to it. The salary that he will take this month is going to like get finished in. He'll consume everything in less than 2 weeks. In less than 2 weeks, he doesn't depend on it. My friend here doesn't depend on his salary. I don't, because the salary comes in your food. I have just even broken down the 12.5 to 53 to you, that it takes care of only food and transportation for a daily person. And how is that living? How is that living? So there is no satisfaction, there is no fulfillment for the basic Ghanaian, and we have been hit by a pandemic, and we are rather going back. Is there mercy? Is there compassion at all? No, there isn't. There isn't. And when Ghanaians riot, when Ghanaians stand to protest, you decide that we shouldn't even speak at all. To hell with us. When Ghanaians, youth, and we are very much aware that these are youth on social media who have nothing to do with politics, complaining. They just wanted a peaceful protest. They said, no, COVID. I'm coming from Kumasi this morning. You are aware. Sir John's funeral, not be small. I am telling you, it not be small. Like funeral, that they did the funeral for you to see that, yes, this is a big man's funeral. Go and see the people there. It's not hundreds, thousands. We are not joking. Thousands, those who converged at the funeral will be less than those who wanted to converge for the Fix the Country protest. They said no because of COVID. Go and see the number of nose masks they wore. Nothing. They were there, Sena. They were there. People being suppressed. We are dying. We just want to speak. We want to be heard. No, I am privileged because I don't give a hoot, and I am NDC, proudly NDC.
You are speaking.
Proudly NDC. But it's not surprising that tomorrow you see somebody coming to break my glass just because I spoke my mind. Because those things happen. But Sena, if we will be truthful, we are suffering. This increment in price has done nothing to us. It has brought us back. It is just them being wise and how to play us, thinking that something has gone up. And I'm pounding taxes on. Let's not forget. Let me just end because I realize that Marco Kwesi too has to talk. Let me just end. That I cannot even talk without mentioning the fact that the basic problem with MPP is that they promise too much. In 2015, they came and told us they have detected 17 nuisance taxes. They have detected 17 nuisance taxes within the NDC, or should I say the NDC's government. And what happened? Let's count the number of taxes. Just about in February, is it February or March? They added about 8 new taxes. In February or March, just this year. They are telling us to expect more. They were complaining in 2015 about our 17 nuisance taxes. Sena, ever since they came, their taxes is passing 20. 20. The devil you know should always remember, the listeners should remember that the devil you know is always better than the angel you don't know. These people came and promised the world. They promised heaven to Ghanaians. And they've now shown us that there is a deeper hell. And that's where they are taking us to. And they are telling us to brace ourselves. We haven't seen anything yet. We thank them very much. But let's just say that now Ghanaians, we realize that we are on our own. We should never even depend on Akufo-Addo again. He should spend all the money. The debt to GDP, he can take it to 100. It is God that will handle him and his government later. And Sena, it's okay. I would end here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jifa. Let me do a couple more of your messages before I go to Mr. Pratt. Mohammed Abdul Musin says, Sena, is this my senior brother Mujib? I'm so impressed with your submission. Hashtag Ghana First. He says, Kwame Osebunsu says, we are always behind you for the good work you're doing for Mother Ghana. Is it Ejewa Manuel says, you have never inherited a good economy. Mujib, when will you stop complaining and listening to the poor? Okay, I think I've lost the rest of my messages. Let me just read one from Hardin Pig Farm, and then I guess I can go to Mr. Pratt. Hardin Pig Farm says, if citizens of a country are hypocrites and sycophants, then another Baumia government will surely take the good people of Ghana for fools and ride them like donkeys. If my brother Mujib is truly saying what he's saying from his heart, then he should condemn the president for spending that huge amount of money on a trip. My people in Tripoli don't have good drinking water, and my president has spent such a huge amount on a trip. Allah save Mother Ghana. Comrade Pratt.
Well, the increase in the minimum wage is perhaps the biggest equivalency story ever told. You know, we are told of this figure, Kwaku Anansi, who has 2 sons and has to share 2 fingers of banana with the 2 sons. So he tells the sons, look, we have only 2 bananas to go around. So Ntakuma, take half and give me half. And then turns to the other son and says, you take half and give me half. What has Kwaku Anansi done? He has taken one of the 2 bananas for himself and given his 2 sons 1. But you see how he renders the sharing of 2 bananas amongst 3 people. This is exactly what this government has done to the workers of this country. By increasing the daily minimum wage by 71%, the government has moved workers to the threshold of taxation. So those who are not being taxed because they are on the minimum wage are now going to be taxed. The 71% will be lost through taxation. A substantial part of the 71% will be lost through taxation. This is the Kwaku Anansi story that we are being told today. But you put the Kwaku Anansi story aside. It is clear, very, very clear, that those who manage the national purse today value their dogs more than they value the working people of this country. Look at the daily minimum wage. How many of them feed their Alsatian dogs and Doberman dogs on less than 400 cedis a month? Their dogs are more valued than the workers. Tell me, any of these big men and women, how much they spend on feeding their dogs per month? What they feed their dogs with is far, far higher than what they are recommending as daily minimum wage. That's how they value the workers of this country. The shock is that representatives of organized labor accept this situation. How much can 71 pesos buy? How much can 71 pesos buy? Let's be realistic. I'm told that a sachet of water is 20 pesos. That's what I'm told. So the increase in the minimum wage can only buy 3 sachets of water. 3. 1, 2, 3 sachets of water. Finish. That is, if we think that all the 71 pesos is going to the worker. But we know that the 71 pesos, a substantial part of it is going to be taken up by tax. So, the worker cannot even buy 3 sachets of water, pure water, a day from this increase. This is the reality. If the worker chooses to spend his 71 pesos on toffee, how many toffees can he get from 71 pesos? If the worker chooses to spend the 71% on chewing gum, how many chewing gums can he get from 71 pesos? So this is the reality. You know, the people who made the decision, the people who run the systems that made the decision, you should go to Moving Peak in the morning and see them dashing there for breakfast before they go to their offices. How much does their breakfast cost? Breakfast, just the breakfast. Then in the afternoon, they rush to Kempiski for fufu. Go and find out how much Kempiski fufu cost. So, they are paying workers, or they are recommending that workers should be paid wages for a whole month, which is far less than what they take for one breakfast, which is far less than what they spend on their lunch. This is the reality. This is the reality. You understand? Now, some of these workers serve them directly. Some of these workers who are going to get an increase of 71 pesos a day, serve them directly. You go to all the places where they eat, where they take their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there's a spectacle. They all come with their nice cars and so on, and sometimes with their girlfriends and so on. The driver drops them right at the entrance and goes to look for a convenient place to park, and he stays in the car. And they go and they chop sumptuously and come back, and the driver drives them back to work and sometimes other places. And they don't care whether the driver has eaten or not. They don't care. They don't give a damn whether the driver has eaten or not. After all, they've increased the driver's pay so that he can buy 2 sachet waters a day. So why should they care? Why should they care? This is the reality. You know, and I've said this many times, I like gankinke. The hard one. I don't like the soft one. So I eat gankinke a lot. My brother, within the last couple of months, the price of gankinke has jumped from 1 cedi to 2 cedis. Kenke, no fish. No fish. No pepper. Kenke. 1 cedi to 2 cedis. Now, if you're on the daily minimum wage, how many balls of kenke can you eat? If you're on the daily minimum wage, and you have an unemployed wife, and many people on the daily minimum wage don't have employed wives. So if you're on the daily minimum wage, and you have an unemployed wife, and 2 kids, let's say 2, just 2 kids, how can you eat kenke? I'm not talking about Indomie. I'm not talking about breakfast. Because you know what breakfast means. What we eat in the morning is not breakfast. Those who eat breakfast know what breakfast is. So you, your wife, and 2 children, how dare you eat kenke? And if you cannot eat kenke, what will you eat? So many of them end up eating air. As for air, somehow, it is not being taxed now. So these people on the minimum wage, they eat air. That's our reality. And they don't care, they don't give a damn. How many of our big men and women, how many of our big men and women will spend, let's move up, will spend 400 cedis a month as pocket money for their children going to school, primary school? How many of them? That is, after the children have eaten breakfast, after their lunch pack has been filled, and after assuring the children of dinner, they give them pocket money on top. How many of them give their children pocket money of less than 400 cedis a month? But the man who works, the woman who works to keep the engine of the economy running is not even entitled to 400 cedis for a whole month. We are now saying officially that it is okay to pay the working people of Ghana, the workers of Ghana, less than 400 cedis a month. You don't break any law, you don't break any rule. It is normal, it is perfect to pay less than 400 cedis a month. That's what we are telling the workers of this country. Sena, forget. The workers, they don't go to the boutique to buy their shoes and so on. They know where they go. You understand? How much is a pair of kambu? Kambu. How much is a pair of kambu? How much is a pair of kambu? Not from the boutique that our big men go to. From the bend down boutique, how much is a pair of kambu? So we are telling them that this fashion which has come, you see the fashion which has come, now the ladies don't wear their shoes as well. Even the ladies are wearing kambu. They call it something else. They don't call it kambu anymore. Sneakers. You understand? They don't call it sneakers. Kambu, they know. We wear sneakers. Okay. The new way of saying kambu. So now, we are telling the workers of this country that as for them, wearing kambu is a childhood dream which will never be realized. That's what we are telling them. We are telling them that sewing a new shirt, oh, 1 shirt a year is a childhood dream which will never be realized. That's what we are telling them. Now, you know something? All of this also go into how much they're going to take home when old age catches with them and they retire. Because when old age catches up with them and they retire, it is this way, their wages, their salaries and so on, which will be used to calculate how much they get. And I'm sure that all of you know the stories of retirees. What I'm going to tell you will not surprise you. Teachers who have worked for 37 years. I know of a teacher who worked for 37 years. When they retire, their lump sum benefit is not up to 30,000 cedis. And that is the point where they drive them out of the school bungalow. They drive them out of the school bungalow. They have to go and rent. And when they have to rent, they have to pay minimum 2 years advance. If they are not lucky, they are paying 5 years rent advance. How do they do it? And if they are like some of us who were brought up in Christian homes and we were taught that look, marriage is a sanctified institution and so on. So you have to take your time. During courtship, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that, and you have to do a certain way and so on and so on. So if you follow this nice advice from your parents and your family and so on, and you marry at 35, and you retire at 60, by the time of your retirement, your firstborn will be how old?
25.
And your second born will be how old? And your third born will be how old? And in fact, you would find out that the working people born more than the big men and women. That's the tradition. So some of these people are retiring at a time when their wards are still in school. And the retirement benefit is paltry. The retirement benefit is nothing. If they struggle and get some accommodation and they pay the rent advance, it's finished. Even what to eat is a problem. That is how we should see this increase in the minimum wage. You understand? 71 pesos. Abba! What are they going to buy? Kuli kuli or alakwa? 71 pesos. What are they going to use it for? Kuli kuli or alakwa? So, what is this joke? I mean, this is just a huge joke. We are laughing at the Ghanaian workers. We are completely laughing at them. Meanwhile, you know, it's interesting. His Excellency the President recently told us that things are bad. That things are very bad. And that he has directed that the review of the salaries of Article 71 office holders and so on should be put on hold. I suppose for this year. How much are they getting? How much are they getting now? How much are they getting now? That's the issue. It's not what they want to get in the future. How much are they getting now compared to the 71 pesos increase? That is the issue. You know, our leaders have certain slogans that they throw about. And they like to throw these slogans about so easily, casually, sometimes carelessly. One of the slogans they throw about is that everybody must tighten their belt. And then, Master, when they say that we should tighten our belt, if their shirt is not tucked in, let them raise their shirt. And you will see the ass of them, they don't even have belt holes. They say we should tighten our belt, but they don't have belt holes at all. The worst one is bite the bullet. The worst one is that they come and tell us that we should bite the bullet. Bite the bullet. Hey, we should bite the bullet. Meanwhile, they are biting bacons and sausages. They are biting cheese. They are biting roasted guinea fowl. They don't eat the sweet potato that we grow here. They eat imported European tomato. That is why they bite. And that's why you, they look into your face and say, you, go and bite the bullet. Master, if you are biting the bullet, let us all bite the bullet. If we are going to tighten our belt, first of all, let's make sure that everybody has belt holes. Because if you ain't got any belt holes, don't tell me to tighten my belt. You understand? So, look, our leaders must lead. They must set the example for us to follow. They are our leaders. If they set the example, we will follow. Sena, there's one more practice that I'm going to describe. And I know you're all familiar with the practice. These days, watch the ministers, the deputy ministers, the presidential advisors, and so on. He's going for a 2-hour meeting. 2-hour meeting. So the posh Land Cruiser, and in fact, these days, they don't even like using Land Cruisers. I don't know if you have noticed.
Yeah,
there's a shift now to Mercedes-Benz saloon cars. So when people talk about Land Cruisers and so on, I laugh. They pass that stage. The Land Cruiser there is normal. You know, it's nothing. Masha. So he's going for a 2-hour meeting. So as usual, the driver gets to the door, he gets out, he enters. And they don't even enter. He won't even open the door to enter. Somebody must come and come from the front, walk to the back, open the door for him to get out and to enter. The engine is kept running for 2 hours before he comes back. Because by the time he comes back, the car must be cool, like a refrigerator. They don't like to sit in rooms, they like to sit in refrigerated cars. So by the time he comes back, the car inside must be cool, like fridge. So for the 2 hours that is in the meeting, the engine is running. And then when it comes to increasing the minimum wage, as for the worker there, 71 pesos. 71 pesos. You can't even buy party ice. Can't buy party ice. This is the reality. You understand? Now, our leaders explain to us on a regular basis that Massa, the coffers, what is inside, it's not good cry. Yes, we know. But how come the coffers are dry? The coffers are dry largely because of the irresponsibility of our leaders. The coffers are dry because what should fill the coffers doesn't end up in the coffers. And what is it that should fill the coffers? What should fill the coffers is how much we realize from digging gold in our country. What should fill the coffers simply is how much we should get from digging diamonds in our country. What should fill the coffers is how much we get from exploiting oil and gas in our country. What should fill the coffers is what we get from manganese and so on. Now we are giving this almost free of charge to multinational corporations from the colonial metropolitan countries. So how can we fill the coffers? How much do we get from gold exploitation in Ghana? Only recently, I was reading a report which says that over a 3-year period, gold that left Ghana without documentation amounted to $6 billion. $6 billion. In 3 years, gold from Ghana, gold that left the shores of Ghana without documentation, was $6 billion. Now, mind you, this is what we found. What about what we didn't find? Now, if that $6 billion was injected into the Ghanaian economy, would we be increasing the minimum wage by 71%? Look, and this week actually, I was reading a story which really annoyed me. Some young woman who was saying that they had been to Harvard and this and Oxford and so on. Cambridge and Whittington. and that their degrees have more weight than degrees issued by University of Ghana and so on.
Who police certificates?
Oh, Master, is it not the same? This is what the young woman was saying. And you know something? Immediately, I remembered General Ignatius Kutu Achampong. In fact, he started as Colonel Ignatius Kutu Achampong. Colonel Ignatius Kutu Achampong went to Swedro Business School. He didn't even get to Ho Poly. General Ignatius Kutu Achampong, he didn't get to Legon. He didn't get anywhere near Legon. He finished at Swedro Business College. Swedro Business College. But General Kutu Achampong was wise enough to realize that if we are to maximize the benefits we get from the exploitation of gold, 55% of the shares in companies exploiting gold in Ghana should be reserved for Ghanaians. Swedro Business College taught him that. Today, the Cambridge, the Oxford, the Wotmiko people are running the economy. And total Ghanaian interest in gold mining is 3%. 3%. They shouldn't waste our years with degrees from Oxford and Cambridge and which is the other one? Yeah. Cambridge and so on. Harvard and what? Oxford and what? Because the Ghanaian people don't give a dime where you got your degree from. They want your work to reflect in their lives, to have a positive reflection in their lives. That's what they want. What secondary school did Kroboduse go to? Kroboduse, what secondary school did he go to? All those ministers, during whose reign we built the Akosombo hydroelectric project, we built close to 500 factories. All those ministers who work so hard that we produce our own refrigerators and deep freezers and matches and cutlass and so on. Did they come from Cambridge? And yet they transformed the Ghanaian economy. They made life more meaningful for the people of this country. Drop your useless Oxford and Cambridge degrees and let's listen to something better. Master, do you know why we are where we are? We are where we are today because the politicians no longer speak the truth. They lie. I am just asking all of us in the studio today to imagine what the election results would have been after December 7th, 2020. Just imagine what the election results would have been. Just imagine that in the run-up to the elections, this government came and told us that if you vote for me, I will increase VAT. That if you vote for me, you pay more for making mobile phone calls. That if you vote for me, in a period of 6 months, I will increase petroleum prices 5 times. That if you vote for me, I will increase transport costs by 13%. That if you vote for me, I will increase your minimum wage by 71 pesos. If you have been told this truth, if you have been told that in the first 3 months there will be doom so and so on, what do you think the outcome of the elections would have been? That is, if we assume that even the outcome of the election results reflects the true will of our people. But what did they tell us? We will build so many hospitals in how many years? When the renovation of the police hospital in Accra has taken 17 years and we have not been able to complete it. renovation, not building. Renovation of the police hospital in Accra has taken 17 years. We've not been able to complete it. But we're going for an election. Told us the number of hospitals they were going to build and how they were going to build it in record time. And we all forgot that the police hospital, the rehabilitation of the police hospital for 17 years has not been completed. And we went along. You know, what all of this should tell us as Ghanaians, what all of this should tell us is that when the politicians come singing sweet songs and making sweet promises, we should examine what they say carefully. We should look at their record. We should examine what they say very carefully. And at all times, we must realize that every election has consequences. How we cut our vote will have consequences for us. Yes, we cast our vote. Did we? They say we did. We cast our votes. We cast our vote on December 7, 2020. One of the consequences is that the minimum wage has been increased by 71 pesos to enable workers buy alewa, to buy kuli. Must have finished.
A big thank you to Comrade Kwesi Pratt. When it comes to painting a picture of the real situation of the average African person, it's a Mozart. We'll take a short break. We'll come back. When we come back, we'll talk about issues of free expression, because our next two topics have to do with free expression. What is happening to Dr. Ayine and what the president has been speaking about in terms of culture of silence all have to do with free expression. So we'll try and see if we can put the two together and deal with before we end the show. This is the matter of all talk
to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle, health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Late Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those socio-economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. And personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma Pratt. Still, the only TV show with a hat.
Market Stories is all about our market. Issues such as sanitation, market structures, storage facility, pricing, bargaining, and everything else that goes on in the market. It's going to be very educative, entertaining, and interactive. We would visit our various markets with both sellers and buyers to know everything concerning our market. Join me. My name is Maud Ya Anandinate. I'm your market lady.
The nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him, Ghana showboy, Africa's great song, Sergeant Dr. Nkrumah.
Welcome back from that break, and thank you very much for sticking and staying with us on the Mother of All Talk Shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live on several radio stations. Let me say a big thank you to Zeps FM in Zebila, and also a big thank you to Bewa Radio in Yende, Matambo Radio, Radio Kitawong, which is in Saboba, Diamond FM, among the several others that are tuning to us currently. With the region says the politicization of democratic institutions is very dangerous. People can't demonstrate, but thousands can gather at one place for a funeral in the time of a pandemic. This is a clear sign that protocols can be broken when need be. And he continues to ask, okay, he says, can you please ask Comrade Kwesi Prajinia if he has any intentions of leading the CPP? I would have loved to see that happen. He again says, Comrade, if they eat air, then Baumia's toilets will be a wasteful venture. Interesting. Atai Emmanuel says a good morning. Today, we the Ghanaian people are suffering. Simple and short. The evil you know is better than the angel. This is Ghana for you and Dananado. He sent that from Sokode. I think then it's Lokwe. I'm sure. SAPGA says Ghana people who call themselves leaders. How can we spend $50 million to go and take a trophy of $4 million? Me, uneducated person, won't do this foolishness. Emmanuel Ansah says, Senior Press, please, it's not about the lies of the politicians alone, but total tribal bigotry that influence the elections. We know he can't do anything, but he's our own. That's the reason why, Mujib, you must criticize Akufo-Addo for being a lazy president for 5 years. He has no monumental projects to show to situate the money he has borrowed. Samuel Yewa, this is the first time I've seen Mujib being really patriotic, and I was very impressed with his submission. I think he will continue like that. Charles Makpa says, Uncle Pratt, you always made things easy for understanding, for us to understand. God bless you. Send that from Kukumpe. Eric A. Tete says, what exactly is Mujib saying? Okay, he said, I'm trying to make sense of it all. He's still saying, but okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. A few more. Erikoku Sepenu says, Mujib had to face the fact that this current government had mismanaged the economy. COVID-19 can't be a blanket cover-up for the MPP's massive failures. Tijani Amingo, money says, so what's your point now? Tell the president to allow for the demonstrations, and you see how angry enough we are. Setabuchi, for once I agree with Mujib. We live in a society where pensioners are totally neglected. I ask what measures were initiated during the COVID era, a sign of a failed government. Elizabeth Joyce Akolo, Ghana is now in shambles. We are paying taxes for COVID. What does one pay tax for getting sick? Meanwhile, they intentionally went outside the country to bring the COVID. You see, let me move on to the other issues that we are discussing. One, we are talking about the Chief Justice referring Dr. Dominic Ayine, Esquire, also member of Parliament, to the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council over comments he made after the decision of the court in the 2018 presidential election petition. That's an interesting precedent, by the way, but it's before the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council, and if it's possible, if it can be put together with the issue of media freedom in Ghana. And I start with Comrade.
That right is enshrined in the 1992 Constitution. We have all agreed collectively after we have had the pure democratic process truncated by people who were feared of hate and for other reasons that I may not have the time to espouse. To that extent, the fourth Republican Constitution, which was promulgated in 1993, is a democratic constitution that has demonstrated some level of resilience, that we have had this constitution ever since. in that constitution, this country and any country has three most important organs of state: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And that is the conglomeration of the entirety of this country. Even ordinary citizens can't be associated with one or two of the organs. But once you have the member of parliament, what it simply means that the entire presidency is represented. I guess now that is what people raise concerns. So, but I think that the Chief Justice, and I've said this and I would say,
Correct. Once again, I apologize. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him, Ghana showboy, Africa's great song, Sergeant Dr. Nkrumah.
This time around, it helps.
It's Mujib.
Yeah.
Like I said, that we have all agreed collectively to charter the path of democracy. Having had our democratic process truncated 3 times before the one we are experiencing or going through now. And there's no denying the fact that the democracy we have today has demonstrated some level of resilience, that we have been in this over 20 years. So the right to free expression, it is not guaranteed by any individual, any organ, any institution, not even the president. That right is a right that we all collectively agreed to put in the Constitution. As a matter of fact, the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, regulates the conduct of everybody, including the president and the Chief Justice. In that Constitution, the judiciary and the leader of the judiciary, the Chief Justice, is supposed to be apolitical. Unfortunately and sadly, the current Chief Justice is behaving more like a politician than a Chief Justice. And I've said it on several platforms, and I'm reiterating the same on this platform. Why? The impression is created in this country as if the judiciary is sacrosanct. No. Nobody is above criticisms, not even the president. And in fact, in a democracy, the judiciary comes next to the legislature. That's one thing people must understand. You can have a government without a legislature, but you cannot have a democracy without a legislature. That is a fact. Now, to that extent, if the legislature and the executive can be criticized, what law puts the judiciary above criticisms? And this current Chief Justice is unbecoming of one. And we need to be very blunt to let him understand that he is not above the laws of this country. The gentleman expressed an opinion. And in fact, legally, at least I also have some legal background, it's important for people people to express their opinion, even in determination of cases. You can have 10 judges or 9 judges or whatever. Some will dissent. And in fact, in the law school, when they are teaching laws, they emphasize so much on dissenting opinions. And if you are answering a question, a law question, it is always important to talk about opinion, but you also emphasize on the dissenting opinions. Dissenting opinions doesn't mean that they disrespect the decision of the court. The decision of the court will be binding, but that opinion will also have a space to stand. Why? Dr. Ayeni was invited to participate at a program organized by CDD. A program where he made comments. And I'm not even too sure whether he was specifically making those comments in reference to what happened at the Supreme Court. But be it as it may, he made his comment on a case that has been determined. Now, when he made the previous comments, he was charged for contempt. Is that not it? He appeared before the justices of the Supreme Court. And then he apologized. The justices in their wisdom felt that they would let him go. Whether they show mercy or empathy or sympathy, whatever the case is. The decision to show mercy or to let him go was based on the apology he made. I listened to one MPP lawyer, Lawyer Pong, on specifically Joy FM, who was interviewed. And I'm mentioning his name because he was also one of those who participated in the program when Dr. Ayeni expressed his opinion on those issues. When they interviewed him, they asked him whether he agrees with the Chief Justice for what he did, referring Dr. Ayeni to the Ghana General Legal Council for further investigation. He didn't even have the balls to answer. What he only said was virtually agreeing with what the Chief Justice shamelessly is engaged in, and said that he thinks that if Dr. Ayeni is given the opportunity again, he won't repeat the words he said, as if he did something sacrilegious, as if he didn't have the right under the laws, the Constitution, to express his opinion on such a matter. And he said something for me that was striking. And I expect the Chief Justice, if he's going to be fair, they should hold the gentleman also before the same council they are holding or referring Ayeni for further investigation. Lawyer Pong, an MPP lawyer. You know what he said? In his comment, he said that they should ask Ayeni, when he made those contemptuous statements and he was hauled before the justices, the role some of them played behind the scenes to ensure that he was let loose. He said it on national radio, that the role some of them played behind the scenes for him not to be imprisoned. Now, he said it, and that's why those who listened to the interview on Joy FM, I think the day before yesterday, we all thought that this decision the justices arrived at was based on the man apologizing and the remorse with which he apologized. And the justices felt that as a lawyer who has been in practice for several years, and by the way, who's also a professor of law, teaching law, most of the MPP lawyers, Dr. Ayeni taught them. Everybody. And there's no any reason to believe otherwise. Yet you have a lawyer. And the time he claimed that they played a role in influencing Dr. Ayeni being allowed to go free, he was the lawyer, one of the lawyers of the respondents at a time when the case was indeed, the petition was being heard. Now, if we want to go by the statement he made, doesn't that vindicate the position of Dr. Ayeni? So the Chief Justice, if he's listening, we expect him to refer Lawyer Pong to the same general legal counsel. He should do that, because that statement he made for me was telling and still telling. that they should ask Ayeni the role they played in ensuring that they showed him mercy when he appeared before the justices. Did he influence them? And if he indeed, then where lies the independence of the judiciary? Who doesn't know in this country the judiciary is fantastically corrupt? Who doesn't know in Ghana? In fact, Justice Georgina Wood, the former Chief Justice, publicly stated that the judiciary was corrupt. Justice Georgina Wood herself said the judiciary was corrupt and is still corrupt. Didn't we see the videos of Anas where they take bear goats and yam? Goat and yam, where judges caught on TV, on video, allegedly taking goats and yam. I mean, I'm saying that I still, but we saw this. And for which reason some disciplinary actions were taken. Haven't we had instances where even the judiciary, the Chief Justice, his leadership, and the bar itself took action against judges who engaged in some corrupt practices? So where lies the sacrosanct of the judiciary, that no one can criticize them? I'll tell you one interesting thing. When they appeared before the appointment, when the justices led by the Chief Justice participated in the State of the Nation's address delivered by the President, and per democratic and parliamentary norms, you would have heckling. People heckled the President, heckled even the Chief Justice and the judiciary. I'm told when they left, we got information that they threatened that they were going to write to Parliament demanding an apology by the members of the NDC, and that refusal to do that, they were not going to honor any invitation extended to them by Parliament. They were lucky they didn't write that letter. They would have heard what they never wanted to hear. They were lucky. The President himself was heckled. Why didn't the President also write to Parliament expecting and demanding an apology from members of Parliament? Who makes the judiciary think that they are beyond criticisms? The President himself is not beyond criticisms. And let's get something very clear. An impression is created in this country. You can't criticize the judiciary. No organ of state is above criticism. Don't they criticize Parliament and parliamentarians every day? Don't they? Even on this platform. What makes the judiciary more important than the legislature or the executive? What makes them more important? An institution that is profoundly and fantastically corrupt, courtesy the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice herself, that you think that people should not criticize it. Look, nobody can suppress the right of people to express their opinion on any matter. And Professor Prempe could certainly have not captured it better than what he said. On the very platform, Dr. Ayeni expressed his opinion on what happened. You had other spokespersons who disagreed with him. You are happy that there was an opportunity to defend and disagree with Dr. Ayeni. You don't have any problem with that. But no one should criticize the judiciary. We will criticize the judiciary every day as long as there is the need for the judiciary to be criticized. We will criticize this Chief Justice as long as there is the need and justifiable reasons for such criticisms. Nothing will stop anybody from criticizing the judiciary, including the Chief Justice. But you see the hypocrisy in this country. The hypocrisy. Go and read. You can easily Google Lawyer Kujetu, his positions on the judiciary in the past. The kinds of things he said about the same judiciary in the past. Who says anything wrong with that? As long as the criticism is within the ambit of law, I will not advocate for anybody unjustifiably to start attacking the Chief Justice, insulting him or insulting the judiciary. But people have the right in a democracy to criticize the judiciary. People have the right. Look, observe even the Chief Justice of the United States of America. The positions people made. In most democracies, what has made them some demigods that you cannot criticize them? I think that if they are uncomfortable with that kind of criticisms, we will criticize them every day. We are practicing a democracy. We have all agreed collectively as people to charter the path of democracy. We are no longer ruled by a military dictatorship. We are ruled by rules and regulations governing the conduct of everybody, including the Chief Justice. And as long as you do something that people feel, it doesn't matter the stature of those people. It doesn't matter whether they are lawyers, they are farmers, they are fishermen. It doesn't matter. People have the right to criticize it. The embarrassing aspect of it is that this is a man who has been a lecturer of law for several years. He should be advocating for the right for people to express their opinions on issues. You remember when Professor Atuguba, then Dr. Atuguba, as academic work, an academician, presented a paper and raised issues, germane issues about how you know is not independent. Yes, he raised those issues. They took him on, and you have so-called, you know, like Uncle Kwesi said, the creme de la creme of the paragons of knowledge in Ghana. They understand the law than any other person. They must speak when it comes to law. Any other person doesn't have the right. Who makes the law? The only body, the only organ clothed with the authority to make laws in this country is not even the judiciary, it's parliament. Of course, cases that are determined by the judges can also be deemed to be law. But the only institution clothed with the authority to make laws in this country is parliament. How many MPs are lawyers? How many? How many MPs are lawyers in this country? Less than 30%, less than 20% of members of parliament are lawyers, but they make the laws. The constitution we have here was promulgated not just by lawyers, fishermen, carpenters. The NPP boycotted it. And Mujib cannot deny that. They felt that they could not sit on the same table with fishermen, farmers, and market women and traders to write a constitution. There wasn't any reason. That was the reason why they refused to participate in it. I think that it is very clear. No institution in this country is above criticisms, whether the legislature or the executive or the judiciary. And no individual or heads of those institutions is above criticisms. The Speaker of Parliament can be criticized, and he's been criticized. His Excellency the President can be criticized, and he's been criticized. The Chief Justice can be criticized, and he will be criticized. Any day there is an opportunity to criticize the judiciary or criticize him, we will. Go read the CDD Afro Barometer. Is the judiciary not corrupt? I think they place number 3, or is it number 2? And when you have those who are supposed to dispense justice, and there are researchers conducting surveys suggest that they are corrupt, then did we go or did we come? I think that Dr. Ayeni did nothing wrong. And to be very honest, it tells you the hypocrisy of some of these institutions. A classic example has to do with the Ghana Bar as another hypocritical group. These are people who officially issued a statement when MPP won elections that henceforth they were no longer going to engage in political discussions. What is more worrying, and if the Chief Justice is listening, what Kennedy Japan said about justices under the bar, threatening them. Were you in a long state of slumber that you didn't see the need? And again, in this country, you had Ashawan. Ashawan was being tried by a court of competent jurisdiction. Ashawan. President Nanado truncated the process, took that woman out of this country. Wasn't it an attack on the judiciary? Justice Nini, where were you? Why didn't you say anything about it? You think that if President Mahama or any NDC government had done that, they would have still been talking about it as a dent on our democratic and the judicial processes in this country? When Parliament was attacked by armed military men, instigated, aided, and influenced and sent by Mr. Nanado and his group of people, what did you say? This was an arm of government that was attacked in this country. You had a judge who was trying, you know, terrorists in Kumasi. Armed terrorists who masqueraded as national security operatives. They went there, freed that person. They nearly lynched the circuit court judge, but for the intervention of the police. Chief Justice, you didn't care. I mean, I think that let's get serious in this country.
Thank you. Thank you very much. A message from Masola Kabli Ayawaso is who says that Kenny Japan poured volumes of vituperation on the judge and in addition threatened to deal with the same judge. Where was this chief of staff by then? It was in this country and make sure the judge who Kenny Japan was to appear before got changed. Today, this same Chief Justice is hauling Dr. Ayeni to the Ghana General Legal Council for a comment he made, which was an undeniable fact. Such pertinence. The Chief Justice, he said, is the most biased Chief Justice ever in the history of our beloved country. Thank you very much. Julius Agahoa Tahiru says, okay, I think it was, says, so honestly speaking, this man by the CJ to investigate Dr. Dominic Ayine is an attempt to frustrate and discredit Dr. Ayine. Come to think of it, what is wrong for a citizen to express his views on a matter? Meaning no one can express his or her view on the issues that has been adjudicated. What precedents are we setting? Whilst in court, contempt of court, out of court, get investigated. Culture of silence is back and pa. And then Charles Namina Samakesi says, if we had to genuinely hold all government to the same standards of accountability and performance, it's now very clear that John Mahama is the best president ever in the Fourth Republic and Akufo-Addo is the worst. Thankfully, we still have the visionary and hardworking Mahama around to come back and fix the country again. Jifa?
Thank him, so he had here, you complain. Sena. I have some with you, man. Sena.
If I go with you, you'll complain. If I don't go with you,
you see,
you don't want to criticize. You two are you be Supreme Court judge.
So I would want to thank Honorable so much. He has hit on many points, and in fact, several of the points that I would even raise and what the listeners need to hear. I'll just start by saying that let us remember that just like he said, this very constitution that we are living by was made by the people. Maybe Uncle Kwesi will even say that it didn't need any Harvard-trained lawyers or any, so-called big thinkers to make the law. That is to say that the law is for the people. The people make the law. There's just an example that he has given that tells us how those in parliament, lawyers in parliament, are not even up to 30% of the entire number of parliamentarians. So I am just saying that the first thing that everyone should put in mind about law is that law is not like rocket science. It is how to govern the people. And how to govern the people majorly contains the people themselves. It's as simple as that. I like to always make references and break down my submissions as low as what a normal tomato seller can understand, because they are the actual people. There was a court case, a Supreme Court case, and two major political parties had issues with the turnout of events. And then NDC took it to court. Now, there was one thing that I have a problem with, and it was very obvious to every Ghanaian. You would only claim you are satisfied because you are an MPP and you wanted it to go your way. But honestly, if it was the other way around, MPP would have definitely had a problem with it. That you are in charge of my food. There is some sort of food poisoning or food shortage. Now there is questioning. Your client says that the food, there was shortage. This is not a number that I wanted. And somebody needs to answer. Now the law is telling me how it made it look. Look, I don't want to even go into details about the law because I do not have so much experience. But I'm talking like how a normal Ghanaian will talk. Demanding what a normal Ghanaian would demand. And implying what a normal Ghanaian will imply. That at the end of the day, the person who should answer, the person who was given the mandate to perform should answer. They said, no, she can decide not to come. So who answers? This is what happened. So who answers? It is basic knowledge everywhere that to whom much is given, much is expected. Everyone should be accountable to what they are asked to do. This is the issue that happened at court, Sena, and we are asking. Now the court has proven to us that the respondent, the first respondent, that is Jim Mensah, can decide not to come, and no one can do focal. So it has just distorted the whole court proceedings. It has made the entire judgment the entire proceedings the entire proceedings just rendered empty, and it ended without Ghanaians not hearing This is it. And I'm just wondering that for somebody who has nothing to hide, if indeed you did everything that you were supposed to do, you could have just come out. This is what Dominic Ayini has been mentioning ever since the court was in session, and now that it's over. And he had problems then. He had to go and beg. And you know, the apologies that he rendered to the court, I mean, all of us seated here know that it isn't actual regret, but fear for his life and fear for his freedom. That if he doesn't go that way, he will definitely be or something. And we have a Supreme Court judge that feels so much attacked because the judgment doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Feels autonomous. And let me mention again that for once, those who don't know, and whenever we are seated on this platform, you know, we try to keep the way we talk about judges. Look, all you have to do is not to insult him, to imply anything that you don't mean. But it feels as if there are some gods whose names we can never mention. It will take lawyers and people who know law to know that there is nothing wrong to demand accountability from a judge. There is nothing wrong to scrutinize a judge. There is nothing wrong to criticize a judge or a judgment. That is why after judgment, like after cases are judged, you have one party coming to tell you they are pleased with the judgment. Another party tell you they do not agree with the judgment. They have every right to say that. You even criticize the steps in which the judiciary took to arrive at that judgment. It is allowed. In certain times, they are even written down. Criticisms about judgment are even written down in books of law for people to learn that after this judgment, there was this critic who wrote this about this judgment. To expand the brains. That is Dr. Ayini's fault. That is his mistake. And you go and you realize that from day one, the way people have been treated, people who come up have been treated, realize that this NPP government, Nanado and his government, who claim that they are not promoting culture of silence, are actually doing that very same thing. Because do you think that if somebody is not as bold as Honorable Mutala here, after what Dominic Ayini is going through now, do you think they will be bold enough to insist that Chief Justice should be criticized? Everyone will call in his shell. We were there when a young boy called Caleb Kuda made some statements. Next day, he was going to do his job as a journalist. And then the reaction was over-exaggerated. We were there when this man called Captain Smart was on TV or was on radio criticizing the lies Bawumia has been spewing from day one since opposition to now. The next day, he came back and told us, good evening, Ghana, that his boss called him and said the pressure was too much. And that he was bashing, he was criticizing the vice president on the things he hasn't done right and the lies and his incompetence. And so they have to remove him from there. We were there when Manasseh Azure did a documentary on the government training their own thugs and vigilantes in a state institution, in a state property. And then the next day he was pleading for his life. We are now here, a Chief Justice has ruled. We all know that by law there is nothing you can do. We have rested our case. But we should be allowed to at least express that we didn't just understand this. It is not right. Because as a young girl, when I'm growing up, I just think that if I am asked to do something, I should be accountable for it. If I'm supposed to go by this judgment, I realize that no, there is a way to escape accountability, even at the highest court of law. So what is wrong? And you see, the kind of effort and passion with which the Chief Justice is attacking this issue only makes me feel that he is I ask myself, is he that guilty? The kind of attention he is attaching to this scrutiny, is he that guilty? So as a young person who had the idea that, this Chief Justice is being too partisan, he doesn't seem to be neutral. And even if he isn't neutral in his heart, he is acting not neutral. I just feel the way he's even reacting with some cases makes my belief that he isn't neutral even stronger. That he isn't fair even stronger. And this scrutiny that we are scrutinizing him, these criticisms, And his way of reacting to it is not going to stop us from criticizing him, if not for anything at all. When I realize it, it even encourages me to talk more. And at the end of the day, I'll be glad that he takes ahead, he goes ahead and attacks or deals with Dominic Aini as he wants. But he should remember, after Dominic Aini, there will be another person who will come and say the things that Dominic Aini said. He should go after that person again. There will be another person. And he's slowly exposing himself. Look at this revelation that Honorable Mutala said. I didn't know about the lawyer. What is it? Is it Opare Pong? The lawyer Pong. Lawyer Pong has indirectly, in fact, in some cases, you will see clearly stated that he has influence on the judgment that judges make. That is what he has done. He has clearly said that he has influence, and probably not just him, because he said some of us. That means there are some people who have influence on the judges that judgment make. That means that when Dominic Aini was let go or forgiven, given a lesser, given a warning instead of a sentence, it wasn't just because the lawyers thought, okay, per the law, we can allow you to do this because you have confessed and you have apologized. It wasn't just because of that. It was because people talked. No, it should be like this. So what does the Chief Justice have to say of this? And now look, we have a member of Parliament of Ascent Central who came out and did the unthinkable. What the Muntie 3 went in prison for, he did worse. He threatened a judge on live air that the judge will see, and that he's a stupid judge, and I quote, he insulted the judge. In plain words, not in parables. In plain words, this man wasn't done, there was nothing done to him. As a High Court judge and a Chief Justice, you didn't see anything wrong with him not being brought to book. Because this one, we don't need a court to tell us that it is clear contempt, that he should have even gone to prison for, because he threatened the judge's life and insulted the judge. I don't need a High Court judge to tell me that when this man steps in court, he will chop some months in prison. But he was left there. This man didn't say anything because it's me that, in the same circles. And today, someone is criticizing a judgment, clearly with reasons that we all understand, because there are several questions that we have. And our very nice Chief Justice is irritated and so forth. Therefore, is going after this man. I say it's a shame to our democracy. I say it's a shame to our democracy, and I just think that if I were someone closer to him, if he's listening to Alhaji by any chance, or someone would even send him this video, he should stop, he should save his energy for his grandchildren and his wife, his wife or whatever. He should save his energy for them, Sena, because when he does this, another person will come. And he will continue proving to Ghanaians that he seems to have a problem with criticism, and no one is above the law. No one. Aside how they behave and let some people hook and attack those who are defenseless, there is no one above the law. And if he does this, he will just hit it. And he might continue setting records and proving himself, and he will have, if he's not careful, he will have a bad reputation that will lead him when he's no more Chief Justice, and no one wants that, not even the devil. So he should just be careful of it, and he's not above criticism. That's my criticize him day and night if he deserves it. If he comes to do something that is not right, we will criticize. He's a human being, and he's under the law of Ghana. That is it.
Thank you. Joe is saying that this Chief Justice criticized 2012 election.
That is it.
Because the action of the Chief Justice is a hypocritical one and unfair of the Chief Justice. Prohibiting accountability transcending to every institution, the judiciary is not above that. Angelo Koyofia, but so the Chief Justice is being like
some of those, yeah. So that I listened to Jefa and Honorable Mutala, but I want to look at it in two folds and try to bring it down for most people to understand. I think that the first aspect of where Dr. Dominic Ayini was hauled before the Supreme Court was when he made statements. But then the proceedings was ongoing. So the court felt that that was not good, maybe trying to. So eventually, we all know that when a case is before the law court and the proceedings is ongoing, you just don't make some comments about it. You allow when the case is determined, then you can also now try to read the case based on the judgment and then bring out your view. So he happens to make comments when the proceedings were ongoing, and he was hauled before the Supreme Court, and he apologized and he was let go. But I think that maybe I also know what happened in 2012 when some individuals also made certain statements when the proceedings were going. They were equally hauled before the Supreme Court. They apologized and they were pardoned. So, but my worry is after the case is determined and is now being reported in the law report of Ghana, whether the citizens or lawyers or people have the right, after having read the judgment, you can also prefer opinion in that way, criticizing the judgment. Honorable Murtala and many others, this is a question I am at a loss, because Reakoto, I know this is a famous case that you've also heard. Anybody who go to law school in first year and you have been taken through this case, you criticize the case. Up to now, and I listened to the current Attorney General in Kumasi when he went to, is it the commemoration or what of the Reakoto something, and the statement he made in respect of that particular case. It all boils down to, this was not in proper context at that time, and this was an affront to justice at that time. And that case, since in the 1960s, still anybody will still criticize the case because of how the judgment went at that time. But me, just like Murtala said, you go to law school, you have been introduced to cases. In sometimes, especially at the highest apex court, in certain cases, the judges don't go the same. Some will dissent, either one or two will dissent, but at the end of the day, the majority, those who go on the same line, carries the day. But the dissenting opinion also stand. And the lecturer will tell you to even look at the dissenting opinion too. It's also very important. Even if they themselves can disagree in trying to come out with a judgment or a ruling, how much less sometimes when the judgment is going to affect. Of course, maybe some may be ignorant about how the law operates, and some will be lawyers. Even lawyers, you go to court with your case. The case doesn't go in your favor, and you disagree with the court or the judgment. Disagree with the judgment. But I am worried. My worry is, what has Dr. Ayini done? Apart from when the case is being determined, he's a normal citizen like any of us, and he's a Ghanaian, he's a lawyer, and he has his own opinion, and nobody can gag him. He can continue to make his own opinion about the judgment of the case, just as others are also still making their own opinion about the 2012 election petition, and they are free to do so, because that will not have any effects on the decision taken by the Supreme Court. Comrade, you and I can continue to criticize the judgment. That will not compel the Supreme Court to go back and review their own decision, even though the Constitution allowed them. Then what is the essence of trying to gag somebody or holding the person before the general legal? Because he's a lawyer. If he's a lawyer, don't he has opinion? He's a lawyer and a politician, and he has feelings, and he can make. So the first one, I think that was right. Because you can't make prejudicial comments when the process is ongoing, especially when you have something to do with the law, especially looking at the standing of Professor Dr. Ayini. That was understandable. We all thought that, no, maybe it's the young ones or some people who doesn't understand will be making, but not him. Fine. But after the case has been determined, and now it is behind us. The decision of the court has been respected by both parties, even though the NDC disagree. But they accepted the decision of the court, and we have moved on. But that doesn't mean that people will not criticize the decision of the court. You can't take it away from them. 100 years to come, people will come and read the judgment and offer their opinion. Whether they like it or not, it will go in their favor, it will not go in their favor. That is what the law is, and that is what will continue to go. And nobody can prevent that one. You can let Dr. Ini today, whatever consequences, but someday, tomorrow, somebody will also come and read the judgment and say, oh, in my opinion, I disagree with the judges at that time. But that is the right of the person. So, you, not only there, you criticize many cases, you read the case, when you read the case and look at it, you read the case and say, ah, no, this case, maybe this is my opinion. I felt this case would have gone this way. And certain cases are controversial. I hope you again. So I am very, very, I just don't know. But to link it with your last topic, I don't want to believe that, because this is coming from the Supreme Court, a Chief Justice, like Mutala said, and we know we have three arms of state, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. And now, it's the judiciary. Nobody is influencing him. And actions are like this are probably feeding into the public perception that maybe there are certain people who doesn't want people to be criticized, to criticize them, or trying to guard people from talking. What will be the basis? At the end of the day, maybe even if it's contempt case or something, how the consequences are going to be, or you say, yeah. So I don't even want us to get there. But in the Constitution, there's free speech, even though that must be exercised responsibly. It's a free. Let's even use this current case as an example as a people, the Achimota and Taros Magai, because it's a fundamental human rights of the gentleman, even though the decision at initial stage didn't go with that. But the court make a declaration on that, and the school comply with the decision. So, oh, the children are in school. Why? Because you were in Kumasi, you were out of coverage area. Oh, no, we are updating you on the facts. So get Taro, my guy is in school. And that's my guy, man. So you see, senior, but I think that sitting sometimes and looking at decisions, even elsewhere, advanced democracies, people talk, people speak their mind, people offer opinions. And I think that that is the beauty of democracy. What parliamentarians, they are there when they mess up, we give it to them. We always say when it's about their own ex gratia, which we are advocating that it should be scrapped. They don't. Yeah, don't we criticize them? We criticize them. The president a statement that he is the most vulnerable person in Ghana at the moment, and that is true. Anybody on social media taking without any justification is lambasting the president. But the focus to transform the country and improve on the living standard of the people of Ghana, that is what he felt is important, and that is what he's doing. So to just try to, oh, don't go there. You know the truth, but you will say it here. But you know, so I think that, but just to conclude, we're in democracy, and democracy has principles and tenets. And any attempt to stifle free speech in this country, and I think that the people of Ghana will not accept it. Where we are not here by, we are here by dint of hard work, by people, some of them are no more. People like Comrade Kosi Pratt and the rest, when we grew, we saw how it was in Ghana those days to speak your mind. You don't know where your next destination will be, but they kept their spirit. They kept fighting, and today we are here. Now today, me and Jifa can now come on national platform. We only God knows how many people are watching this program today. You speak your mind, you go out, you take your car and go home without any hindrance. And we want it this way, we'll continue to want it this way. You may be put in responsible positions. Certain decision has to be taken, but it is the right of you to take those decisions in the interest of Ghana. And it's the right of the citizens of the country to also applaud or to criticize you. So you move in and you move out. That is what I have to say.
3 square meals is a luxury. People
Same.
3 times in a day.
Why? There's food. There's no food shortage.
Because
You say it's a luxury.
It's a 3 square meals is a luxury. But you feed breakfast. So you eat that.
No, I'm not eating
Because
breakfast.
you are rushing to come.
Depending on this for
You are
breakfast.
rushing to come.
The lazy man approach. That was what Baumia told us. But under the Kufuado Baumia government, Bola tax, COVID tax are collected. The borrowing is a Kufuado Solman. As if that is not enough, people can speak freely. Culture of silence and culture of impunity is back in Ghana to rise and to win positive defiance and defy and resist these oppressors.
Hey, Sena. Please, there's no culture of silence in this country. There's no culture of silence. The laws of this country, there's a repeal of the criminal libel law. Today, journalists are free. Their right is enshrined in the Constitution. Free speech, free journalism. Nobody is criticizing them.
Culture.
What culture of silence? That is what I've debunked by telling you. The you and I are here.
Doesn't mean there is a.
Do you know the time they were ship bombing in this country? People talk and they were hauled to Nsawam and other places.
Ahmed Swale is dead.
That is no, but those are. But it doesn't matter.
Captain Smart has been sacked from his work for
But today he's working. He's working. He's a media general.
It doesn't matter else.
But look, even those days you didn't even have the stations to even go and talk. Those days the stations were not there. You know it in this country. That is nobody is taking us back.
They are taking us back there.
Culture of silence.
We are being suppressed.
Nobody will tell. That is his right.
Your point is fine. He did well.
No, but no, there's no 100%.
Exactly.
Anywhere in the world, if there are excesses.
He paid the ultimate price.
Oh my God, man! Under your watch, journalists were brutalized. Journalists were malhandled, even at the seat of government. The stop dog and the journalists. You think we are forgotten? But we didn't say we were in culture of silence. Under NDC, John Dramani Mahama. You saw what you did to journalists.
What did he do?
Uncle.
Only suit you say.
When it doesn't, you refuse to forget.
But you know everything.
Well, over the last 1 week, the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has found it necessary to defend his record when it comes to press freedom twice. That is something that in a space of 2 weeks, the President himself has had to come out to defend his record. Something is biting him. The public criticism is getting to him. That's the only way you can interpret this. Now, how is the President defending himself? The President says that he's the most vilified Ghanaian leader, and that in spite of that, the media has been free to do its work, and that we should not mistake criticism of the media's work to be the imposition of a culture of silence. Basically, this is what the President is saying. Now, unless, of course, I've gotten Ghanaian history upside down, because I know what was done to Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah at a certain stage was actually banned from going to Kumasi. Look at the number of times they tried to kill him. Not vilify him, kill him. They tried to kill him. Look, at a certain point in our history, the opponents to Nkrumah went and got a photograph of prisoners in Togo and got it published in the UK as a photograph of Nkrumah's political prisoners. And this became a huge scandal. Look, they employ somebody to be doing cartoons of Nkrumah, Kankan Nyami and so on. Is President Akufo-Addo telling us that he's been more vilified than Nkrumah? Look at what was done to President Mills. The jokes about him, In fact, he himself referred to President Mills as President Doolittle. Today, can anybody do that to him? President Mills was referred to as a poodle. Can anybody do that to him? Look at what was done to President Mahama, especially by His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Alhaji Bawumia. Look at what they did to President Mahama. So that claim that he's the most vilified Ghanaian president and so on, where is that claim coming from? Let's put that aside. I like to put some things aside. Let's put that aside. The president then says that he took part, not that he repealed the criminal libel law, he took part in the processes leading to the repeal of the criminal libel law.
Piloted.
Who did it? That criminal libel law was passed by Parliament. The repeal of the criminal libel law was done by Parliament. Not one member of Parliament objected to it. Not one political party in Parliament objected to it. And I recall that this battle was started by people like Professor Kwame Kakari, Dr. Yao Graham, Akoto Ampao, Koku Baku, and so on. When we actually formed we formed the movement called Freedom of Expression and so on. He was not a member when he started. But somehow, he and his supporters are claiming credit for the repeal of the criminal libel law, when they don't know where it started from. They have no idea where it started from. In any case, let us agree with the president that he single-handedly repealed the criminal libel law. Give it to him. He did it. So what? Yes, he repealed the criminal libel law. We've given that to him. Is Ahmed Swali alive? Have we found his killers? Only 2 weeks ago, another radio show host shot. Have we found his killers? Journalists are being beaten, pummeled. What has the repeal of the criminal libel law got to do with journalists who are being beaten by security agents? Look at what happened to this guy, Khalid Kudam. Look at what happened to him. What has the repeal of the criminal libel law got to do with that? Go and see the Press Freedom Index over the last 10 years. See how Ghana is doing. What has the repeal of the criminal libel law got to do with that? So, clearly, people are afraid to speak up. And when people are afraid to speak up, because of the consequences, that's the return of the culture of silence. Those people are clearly afraid to speak out. Now, let us be honest. My brother, all of us should be honest. Today, as we speak in the studio, and happily, we have one of the communicators of the New Patriotic Party here. Can anybody deny the fact that the political parties have set up apparatus for attacking those who criticize them? Can anybody deny that fact? You criticize the president today and see what will happen to you on social media. Is it spontaneous? Don't you know that those people are paid? They are hired? Who pays them? Don't you have a social media team responsible for that?
We have a social media. Yes, of course.
So why are you denying it? Why are you disagreeing?
So if you're
Massa.
something wrong with your statement.
Massa, the insult, the vilification, that's what I'm talking about. The insults and vilification. It is sanctioned. They are paid for. They have a group trained to insult, to attack. Please don't waste our time. Don't waste our years. Why? And Mujib, I want you to tell me that what I'm saying is wrong. Haven't you had the experience of asking somebody why he's not complaining? And usually what is the response? I don't want trouble. Many, many times, all the people listening to us, many, many times, you get to know that something is going wrong. The people who are supposed to speak are not speaking. And you approach them and you say, my friend, why are you so quiet? In the face of the facts, in the face of the reality, you say, hey, I don't want any trouble. Is that not indicative of the fact that something is wrong with free expression? Is that not indicative of the fact that people are afraid to speak out? So let's stop playing the ostrich. Look, you can bury your head so deep in the sand. But if you behave like an ostrich, your head will be so deeply buried in the sand that some part of your body that I don't want to mention will be protruding and people will be seeing it. You understand? And we're all behaving like ostriches. Yes, in the past, there was shit bombing. Today, there's no shit bombing. You get a bullet through your head. Which is better? Shit bombing or the bullet through your head? Yes, in the past, some of us were taken to prison. But we came out of prison. Today, I'm sitting here. Today, you don't have a chance of going to prison. You go into a coffin. You don't go to prison, you go into a coffin. You understand? I mean, we've had a case where one of our most respected journalists has publicly claimed that he had to run into exile because he was afraid of his life. Please, let's be real. As for what is happening with the Supreme Court and the reference of Dominic Ayini to the legal council, what do they say? You know, legal council, general legal council and so on. It's so clear. The law itself recognizes that our judges are fallible. Our judges are not infallible. The law itself. That is why we have a hierarchy of courts. The existence of a hierarchy of courts is a recognition that judges themselves make mistakes. That is why when you take a case to the High Court and you are not happy with the High Court, you go to the Court of Appeal. And when you go to the Court of Appeal, there are 3 judges, not 1. Because the law recognizes that judges have their biases. They have their cultural biases, they have their political biases, they have all kinds of biases like all of us. So, 3 judges, if you have 3 judges, the likelihood of securing judgment, justice, is better than when you have 1 judge. That is why when you are not happy with the decision of the Court of Appeal, you go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has more judges. And that is why, even on the Supreme Court, the judges sometimes review their own decisions. Because they know that they are not infallible. That's all, simple. You understand? Why? Look at the United States of America. There's a battle about who should sit on the Supreme Court. The last judge who was appointed by Donald Trump, you saw the whole controversy and so on. Because those who make appointments to the Supreme Court, whether it's in Azerbaijan, Afghanistan, United States of America or Ghana, do so for a purpose. No president appoints people to the Supreme Court to go and play chaskele. They go to the Supreme Court to go and fulfill a legal, political, social obligation. And because people's orientation can be determined before appointment, the process of appointment always is meant to influence and so on. These are facts. You understand what I'm saying? These are facts. Now, who says that judgments of the courts cannot be criticized? We can criticize the judgments of the court. In fact, we are allowed to criticize judgments of the courts. And the judges themselves have been actively involved in criticisms of the courts and the decisions of the courts. Masa, this year, early this year, a huge platform was erected in Kumasi. Unfortunately, it was such a partisan platform. Everybody on that platform was an NPP person. The former Speaker of Parliament, Minister of Agriculture, Attorney General, and so on. Our Chief Justice joined that platform. What was that platform doing? That platform was criticizing a decision, a judicial decision. That's what they call Riakoto. The Chief Justice himself was part of that platform to vilify the CPP and Nkrumah. To criticize a judicial decision. So if judicial decisions cannot be criticized, what was the Chief Justice doing on that platform in Kumasi? With NPP bigwigs. What was he doing there? How come that platform was filled with partisans? Not one Nkrumahist appeared there. Not one PNC member was on that platform. Not one CPP member was on that platform. So NPP. And the purpose was to criticize a judicial decision. So if the Chief Justice can do that, why can't Dominic Ayini do that? And indeed, the platform which was created by the CDD, in my view, was far more superior than the platform on which the Chief Justice spoke. Because on that platform which was created by the CDD, there were different shades of opinion. Akutompo spoke there. Kokuaza spoke there. All kinds of people spoke there. And they expressed themselves freely. They contested the ideas and so on. Chief Justice is not happy with that. He wanted all the people there to sing his praises. Hallelujah. Hallelujah chorus. Hey, what is this? Now, if we get to the point of judicial infallibility, where would our democracy be? In this country, the laws allow us to criticize the president. The president who is elected by the people is subject to criticism. Not just subject to criticism, we can sack him from office. We can impeach the president. We can start processes of impeachment against the president. And the president appoints the Chief Justice, but the Chief Justice is superior to the president. He cannot be criticized, but we can criticize the president. Hey, what is this? Parliament. How many times have we not subjected Parliament to painful, rigorous criticism? But the judiciary is above criticism. What kind of situation is this? This bullying antics, these antics are clearly designed to entrench and strengthen the culture of silence. Clearly. That's when we get to the point where we are all forced to be moved. You understand? When it comes to the judiciary and so on, this prevailing culture of silence will be deepened. And our democracy will be fractured so severely. Look, so many people have spoken. So many people have spoken. Civil society organizations, lawyers, and so on. The judicial service should do the right thing. Withdraw this letter. Withdraw this letter quickly. And let's have some peace of mind. But if they persist in going ahead, they should go ahead. We will all patiently await the decision of the General Legal Council. And we can assure the General Legal Council that it is also not above criticism. And that whatever decision they take will be subject to rigorous public discussion and possibly protest. I finish.
Well, the president of the Popular Stand, he named himself that. Since the culture of silence and hypocrisy has compelled me to write with this, I totally refuse to comment on any topic related to the judiciary. If I agree to it, you are not young. You've been old enough for long enough. Tell my in-law Mujib to stop shouting.
He's a bad man.
Say happy birthday to Vivian Jobo and say a happy belated birthday to my former colleague, Lydia Furua Mustafa, who celebrated her birthday earlier this week, and also to one other person, Eric Kelly and her. He used to be called Darling Boy some time back.
Please, belated birthday to my dad, Mr. Foster Tegan. Last week.
Oh, happy birthday.
Jamal, who did TV?
You are saying and then you come to this studio to say happy birthday to your dad. What did you do to him?
Happy belated.
And it's belated. What did you do to your dad? You should have invited all of us to go to the house and
what economy?
Well, I also understand this week was the birthday, at some point was the birthday of Kenneth Govolate. So happy belated birthday to you, former National Security Coordinator. My name is Sena Nombo. I was joined in the studio this morning by Mr. Kwesi Pride, who is manager editor of the Insight newspaper. Paints a very good picture of the Ghanaian situation, and also by the MPP's communications member of the MPP's communication team member, Mujib Rahman, and also by member of Parliament for Tamale Central, Comrade Ibrahim Mutala.
The propaganda.
To all of you watchers today. We are back same time next week with another edition of the show. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a fruitful week and join me back here same time. Thank you once again.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle, health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those socio-economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. Our personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma, but still the only TV show with a heart.
African.
Hello there, it's Obasuma Summit season again. It's that time of the year when all of us as women meet in our created safe space, women of all ages, of all backgrounds, to have those conversations that we need to move us forward collectively. 2019, our theme was Empowered for Continuity. This year, in collaboration with Guinness Ghana, our theme is the progressive portrayal of women. And this year, we start the conversations from our campuses. UPSA, are you ready? Because you are our first stop for the University of Ghana, KNUST, the Ghana Institute of Journalism,
University of Development Studies.
So get ready for us. I will not be coming alone. I will be coming with Nash Okor. I will be coming with Caroline Simpson. And we will strategize for the big summit later in June this year. Whatever you do this Saturday, the 5th of June, do not miss Obasuma Summit Campus Store at the UPS. I really, truly want to see you there. See you.